So it's noon, so I'll go ahead and call the meeting to order. First, we'll welcome Doug as our newest member, replacing John Beck, who retired. So I'll open it up for citizen comments.
Mr. Kaufman, I was just gonna give you a quick update on our bidding schedule for the storage sewer. Gonna be advertised on the 18th, and the 25th of this month, and then opening bids on the 18th of next month. So that'll start the process. We talked about last meeting I was here. So we'll review those, and we'll be bringing them back to you guys to make a recommendation about awarding those and sending it on to city council. If you have any other questions, address them now and.
Could I just ask?
One set of plans here
And this is for what sewer project?
for the next phase of East Orchard.
Oh, East Orchard, okay, I didn't hear that part. Okay.
Anybody else have questions?
Just refresh that, was like 17, 19, 2 or something, or?
Yeah, 17, 18, 19, 17 and 18 are the base projects, those two large blocks, and then 19 is the next one that's an add alternate that we're budgeting for.
Good memory.
We can do better the rest of it. All right,
Thanks.
thank you. Anybody else have any? All right, so I'll go ahead and start with our active agenda. First item is approval of minutes of January 14th, 2025. Have a chance to look at those. And so I entertain a motion to approve.
I'll motion.
One second.
All right, open up for discussion. Do you have anything? All right, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Okay, motion passes. Next item, I'll group the invoices together. First, invoices for O'Sullivan Legal PLLC for January 2025, in the amount of $780. Second invoice is Redevelopment Association of Idaho for annual dues of $4,600.
I will move approve.
Okay,
I'll second.
okay, motion a second. I'll open it for discussion.
Are the, Katie, are these the same dues amount as last year?
I don't remember, tell you the truth.
Is this for the lobby?
Yeah, this is for the lobbying group, and the whole association that our URA is a part of. Along with all the other URAs.
Anybody have any other questions?
Yeah, just a comment, you actually call it a lobbying room.
Is that what it is?
Yeah, that's what it is.
Okay, well,
Yeah,
that's.
years ago, they wouldn't call it that.
That's how it was referenced last year.
Yeah, good for
Mr.
you.
Dish was here, so I don't know. That's what I was curious. Okay. All right, we'll have a motion in a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Okay, motion passes. Next item is review of financial summary, January 2025.
Okay, so this, I just handed out paper copies to you guys, and I emailed it first thing this morning, and I received it from our finance department. Our meeting day a little earlier in the month, we get a little later, we do have to wait for all of the bank statements and the treasury, the Idaho State Treasurer pool to get in, so. We did receive the large deposit from our property tax at the end of December, beginning of January, so you can see that it's at the top column. We will be doing a transfer of funds from the Twin River account over to the state treasury pool to continue accruing that extra interest like we've been doing. And yeah, that's kind of the state of affairs there.
Right, I went through it, it looked fine to me. Anybody else have any questions?
I just, what is East Main? Am I looking at the spreadsheet?
Yes.
Yes.
What's the East Main one is like the roundabout and that work that was done there? is
No.
that right?
East Main is the East Orchard, Main, East Main.
Yeah,
That was the, yeah, that was.
not the roundabout, but the
The
intersection, yeah.
Yes,
Sorry.
and so that's just the last,
Okay.
and that one got closed at the end of last year.
Okay,
And so that's just, the last little bit that trickled in there and then
Okay.
it's.
yeah, just wanted to clarify that.
Yep.
There was no roundabout.
Yeah, I know,
No, the interchange.
I got roundabouts in my head Reading too much about right.
Yes, but it was that area and that project, yes.
Yeah. Intersection.
Yes, the
Sorry.
intersection. Any other questions?
So eventually that East Main comp's gonna come.
Yeah,
off there.
it should be gone after, this last one, just because, you know, it still trickles in little bits. But otherwise, it's close, it's done, it's
Yeah.
redistributed.
All right. With that, if anybody doesn't have any other questions, are we done?
We haven't really ever set a goal for the Brighton, what kind of critical mass we need before we can kick that up, have we?
We have not. I can definitely put that on next month's agenda and we can do some discussion about that and kind of go through the projects that are called out there and I can reach out to the other entities.
Yeah, we're starting to get some critical mass going there.
Yeah, I can, as a chunk of that, we do have that, agreement with Lloyd. So I can reach out to Barney and see if he,
They were gonna pay half and
yeah, we're gonna pay half. So I can see where they're at with that. I don't believe the project is moving yet. But I can definitely get a update, come back to you guys with.
Okay.
Going to be expensive.
Okay,
It's 10 years down the road.
million here, million there pretty soon from
I'll make myself a note to reach out to Barney, and bring you guys an update.
All right, moving on, we'll put to the next item, preliminary engineering report of water and sewer presentation by Santa.
Okay. So, about a year ago, the URA was contacted by a developer, wondering if our, East Main encompassed an area where he owned property and was looking to do some development, and they were running into problems with infrastructure, specifically water. And so he came to several meetings and he presented to you folks, the particular property that he owns and that a subsequent developer owns, adjacent property who's also reached out to the city, is right in between our high pressure and low pressure water zones. And the water line that is in 29th, is a very large, very old transmission line, so it cannot be tapped to provide additional water service. Additionally, there are, a number of parcels on the east side of 29th Street that are not served by sewer and are still on septic systems. And then there's a very, very large piece, to the east of those existing homes that is undeveloped and currently being tapped. So that developer came to the URA looking for interest. It wasn't in any of our areas. You know, we did hear from them. We kind of pushed them towards the city. They did visit with the city. The city didn't have an answer for them. And so several city staff kind of got together and were like, we need to find an answer because this isn't the only developer we've had wanting to do something and not having a solution to where they would get water from. So the city, allocated some funds and hired Stantec to do a study to kind of figure out a solution to where that water should come from. And they also looked at some sewer stuff and they also did some other water modeling, for the city, kind of unrelated but related. Okay, so I have two members from the Stantec team here and they are going to present us with that, PDF that I handed out an additional copy and you guys got it in your packet also. And so they're just gonna kind of go through the information. This could be, and I'm using could very, very loosely. This could be step one of like 1.6 million if the board was interested in looking at creating a new revenue allocation area and looking at some water infrastructure. So, share a screen. It's to be recorded. Here's my drive over here.
Sure.
That's great. You got it?
Yeah.
Okay, so thanks for letting us come and present today. My name is Michael Boos. I'm the area manager for Stantec. I have Stephanie Elliott with me. She's one of our water system experts. Stantec, we've been asked to look at the water and sewer around 29th Street, kind of in that north part of town, south of the river. I don't know how best to define that in Lewiston, but that's where it is. Pretty tricky area. We appreciate that opportunity. Next slide, please. So today we're gonna talk a little bit about the goals of what we evaluated, some of the existing systems that are out there, the utility improvements that we identified, and some cost estimates for you to consider or for a future project that might come. Before I get too deep in this, if there's any particular area that you want me to focus on or not, let us know and we'll certainly jump in there if you have questions. So our goal was to determine the feasibility to a couple areas, and we creatively call them Area 1 and Area 2. In that portion of Lewiston, right bounded by 29th Street. And 4th is up here, 6th, 9th, and 8th. And this is an existing, it's undeveloped right of way, but it exists in city, part of city right of way. The critical thing, probably the biggest issue that we have is the high and low pressure main. It goes to the low zone tank and the high pressure tank, high zone tank. Are in there, and they're 100 years old, concrete spiral wound pipe. And it's something that has been a concern of staff and certainly tricky to work around. So that's probably the biggest thing we've had to deal with in this project. Next slide, please. So you
Well,
just-
can I ask a question?
Yeah, sure.
Area 1, that, you have it kind of lined out there like it's developed, but it's not really developed.
So there was a preliminary plat that was identified, and we just use that. Some other developer could come in a different thing, but this is based on the best information we have at the time.
Okay.
So, and the preliminary, the previous developer, city, I'm not sure who, but the sewer has been installed in this existing road right of, what is proposed to be road right of.
The developer itself.
Yeah,
Back in '08.
But it's hay right now.
it's just grass,
Or
yeah.
grass.
The ones along, that are just outside, ones along 29, those have been installed, 27, sorry.
Yeah.
Those
These-
ones
yeah.
were built and they, are served by that sewer
Right.
line
Right.
that's in the middle.
So that's a concept of how many lots would be able
The
to
likely lot, yeah,
develop.
yeah.
That's
It's
what that
a,
developer.
it's an approximation, right? So that's the best information we have today.
Okay.
And then these over here are as they are defined by the county. They could be split, for many of them could be split further, between 30th and 29th, these lots over here.
Isn't that in the city limits?
But
But it's how the lots are defined.
Yeah.
Current.
Well, that's,
That's-
lot splits are done through P and Z, right?
subdivisions are done through public works.
Well, subdivision is one split. That's considered a subdivision.
So this is just how the parcels currently exist.
Currently are, right?
Yeah. But what we looked at is where could they be, right?
Yeah.
So that we want to make sure that we have adequate capacity both water and sewer for, whatever might happen.
Okay, no, I get that.
This just gives us a place to start.
Right.
And so this is what we have. The tricky part, right? Why would you need to hire a consultant to figure out how to put a water line down the street? Right? Well, the reality is Lewiston's water system, I work all over the state of Idaho. Lewiston's water system is probably one of the most complex water systems, even though the population is very small and all that kind of stuff, but it's one of the most complex water systems for its population. Because of that, I mean, there's a hill, there's 18 pressure zones throughout the city, there's 7 well sources, there's the 10 million gallon a day water treatment plant. That's a project that we did at Stantec. We've been involved in the reservoir that repairs as well. We got 8 reservoirs all over, and most importantly, the 2 critical pressure mains that bisect the 2 properties that we looked at. So those are kind of the constraints that we dealt with, and then the existing utilities. Go next slide, please. So you have existing so the pressure zone splits a little bit south of 8. So that's what makes this a little bit complex. You have both high pressure zones down in here. You have the low pressure zone comes in here from the water system. And the sewer, flows, the sewer is pretty simple, flows downhill. Everything's gonna flow to the north, right? It's all uphill.
Could you describe the difference between a high pressure zone and a low pressure zone?
Sure.
I know we're talking pressure, but why do we have two different pressure zones?
Okay, so in a water system, you wanna take it or?
You know.
Okay, I'll go. So, in a water system, you want to run your, mains between 40 and 80 PSI. So that sets your pressure, because you don't want, if you get, some of the pressure in Lewiston are up to 100, 125. I mean, if you went to your residential house and you had 125 pounds, you could hold the glass on the faucet and flow right through.
Yes.
So you establish zones, primarily based on elevation, but the development of Lewiston has been a bit unique. So it's developed horizontally 100 years ago, so I had a chance to deal with that. 100 years ago, 1924, so a little over 100 years, they put the water treatment plant and they put a reservoir in area right about here. That's the low zone reservoir. It's about 3 million gallons, maybe 4. And then there's a high zone, creatively called high zone, because it's higher than the low zone. And it's another 4 million gallon reservoir. That's the one that failed a couple of years ago. Right? So we fixed that one. And so that's what established the first two zones in the city.
Okay, so it's elevation.
Elevation
versus-
sets
versus pressure.
Elevation sets pressure, right? 0.432 times the elevation gives you the pressure in the.
Sure.
But yeah, so each of these colored areas is a different zone in Lewiston. And we've modeled the whole thing. So anywhere in town, we're like, okay, what's the likely pressure? And the city complex, the Brian Lacy, one of the best operators you got out there. He has over 100 pressure reducing valves. That's the thing that allows the water, I mean, it's gonna flow downhill, right? But you can't, if you put the water from here all the way down there, you'd be a couple hundred pounds. So every time it goes down a zone, there's a pressure reducing valve. And so that way,
Okay.
if the next guy doesn't have 120 pounds of water. And so the top of the zone is typically the lowest pressure, and the bottom of the zone is high.
Connecticut.
Yeah, it's just that, yeah. That's the zone. Yeah,
Well, I was gonna say, yeah, so like, just the naming is, I don't want to get stuck on the name of high and low, it's just the original names, that's why you have south high or southeast high. Ran out of high lows.
Yeah. It was the first two. So pretty fascinating. Our worst. So that's their sewer, all runs, downhill, flows to the north. The main sewer for this area comes at Fourth Avenue, excuse me, and then if you come over here, the sewer is also at Sixth Avenue, so that gives you a way to get sewer that way. And that's definitely gonna walk through the potential solutions, that's kind of, just goes down it.
Yeah.
And I'll swap with you and let you
Oh, yeah,
have a
great.
pointer and I'll do the up or down.
So I'll start with water, water first, so, yeah, so just to point out that the green is, I need to read one more of this, but the green is the new proposed low pressure zone main, and then the black is gonna be the distribution main in the high pressure zone. The one big thing to note is that area 1, again, is gonna actually have to be served by 2 different zones, the high pressure zone and the low pressure zone, to be able to connect that system. Whereas the area 2 can be all served by the high pressure zone. So, overall, you'll need 6 new 8-inch mains, for the entire improvement area, 3 being to connect to the low high in area 1 and 3 being to connect to, just the high in area 2. And it's 8 inches, that's the city standards for, an 8-inch, for a new main. Additionally, we looked at the fire hydrants. It's a 500 feet is the city standards for spacing and fire hydrants. So this area will also add 6 new fire hydrants to serve both. And they're the green dots. So the representation of the new water system improvements. And then for the sewer system, we're looking at, for area 1, it'll need a new 8-inch main that's going to ascend from 6th Avenue along 29th Street to 9th Avenue. That's the dark red dots. And then another new 8-inch main along 8th Avenue. Will connect to area 1, and then area 2 will be a new 8-inch from southwest of 6th and a new 8-inch along 30th from 6th Avenue. This sort of kind of was a combined, just all in one snapshot for the proposed sewer and water alignment. Any initial questions? And so next we just wanted to show the profile. That was a lot of infrastructure in this area. And as Michael said, we really wanted to make sure we kept those existing high pressure mains that are 100 years old intact. And so the sewer system was one of the, I think, the concern, but it's actually really deep in this area. So you'll be able to protect and bore underneath those mains. But this is just to show the sort of profile on the two main streets. 29th Street is currently a 65-foot wide street, and 30th Street is 60-foot wide. So this is kind of that alignment, proposed alignment for what the future roadways alignments will look like. Okay, and so lastly, we just wanted to like throw some costs, because I think that's the big ticket item, is always how much things are gonna cost. So, the total sanitary sewer is gonna be about 1.3 million. That includes just the construction costs in 2025. This is all in 2025 dollars, and then a contingency for engineering, and then just a general contingency. So these would be like sort of total project costs for the sand sewer improvements, and then the water sewer will be about 1.8 million for the improvements, for a total project cost of 3 million, again in 2025. And this is it's identified as a class 5, which gives a larger range of flexibility. Cost actually.
Oh, can I ask?
Yeah, absolutely.
I was gonna ask, is this done in phases? Is it like broke out into phases?
So we just proposed, like, this is sort of the initial, I think, is,
Yeah.
the next steps, yeah, would be how the project would get built or designed and built. But if we were gonna do it all, like, tomorrow, it would cost $2 million.
Okay.
Okay, you identified it as water mains, but in your presentation, you said, I can't remember how many hydrants. Is the hydrant installation included in this or not?
Oh, yes, they are.
It is. Okay. All right, typically, unless it's changed, that's been a developer cost.
Oh, okay, so we should look at that.
And all of this could potentially be developed cost.
Yeah.
This is just a solution to a problem.
Yeah,
This is
yeah.
not, nobody's paying for this right now.
Yeah, no, I get where you are.
40,000-foot level.
Yeah, and it's what's not included is like the existing main, that, like, we didn't put the cost of sewer, that's already in, or the main. So we tried to find the things that might be beyond, within the subdivision.
Any property owners would benefit from this upgrade? Just one developer, or is there
Multiple.
multiple?
Yeah, because there's one developer who, the Wallowa River property folks that came and talked to us, they own a majority of this.
Okay,
And then farther down, is owned by another family, we'll say, of developers. Habitat for Humanity used to own all of these ones on the side. And this family has purchased all of those lots. There was like 5 of them that they owned. And so one family owns all of that side, and then, I think they're short one to go all the way down to 4th on that side. And then you would have just the general idea of what might happen over here at some point in the future. The people who, the company that owns this property farm, and they own a lot of property and they farm. But I know that there are family members in that family that when the older generation goes, they might be more interested in development.
And that's city property, I mean, city, in the city limits.
Yes.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay, this guy,
this is.
I'm talking about what would be
Future.
area 3, say area 3.
Yes.
That's in the city limit.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, because it has, it's a weird dog that like goes down
Okay.
and it touches, what, is it Lapway Road out there? Is it like, it connects where that,
The lower portion is.
Yeah.
Way down.
yeah, so that piece like goes all the way over,
Yeah.
basically the city limits.
And they can't develop now due to the problem.
They wouldn't be able to develop housing, no, there's no water or sewer available to them. And right now, they're farming that land, but
Eventually,
it's one of those things, the city has to grow and stuff.
Well, sewer would require an acre. City,
Septic,
yeah, in order to have a sewer system,
yes,
it'd be a septic system which requires an acre.
yes.
Yeah.
But there's no water. Water's the bigger problem.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, yeah, we were at, just already, the existing septic standards, we were. And see if you could include them, but they're.
Yeah. So have any of these owners changed recently? Yes, the commercial ones. Because I remember this came up last year and I think their values were reduced.
Yes, yes, no, it's those same people.
It's the same
Uh-huh.
people. Okay.
Yep, both of those, because I believe Willow River came to you guys at Board of Adjustment and the Geckners came to you guys at Board of Adjustment.
Yeah, and that was the issue, was the water, availability of water.
Yep, no water.
Yeah. Okay, so it's same owners.
Yep, same owners.
Okay.
You are remembering correctly.
Okay.
Is there, are you guys still presenting? Is there-
Oh, no, that would be, that would be.
We're down to questions.
Questions, yep, answer what you asked.
All right, anybody have any questions? You got any questions?
Well, what's going through my mind is this all kind of fell within the now closed East Orchard sewer, East
East Main.
East Main.
The area did, but the
But I
project did
think
not.
part of this was not within that zone, was it?
The project, so remember, so the area was in the revenue allocation area, but the project was not already identified.
That
And
was
as,
it.
yes, and as we had discussed before, we can't amend plans to include new projects. So closing and opening new is the way to do that.
It's not an issue, but I wonder, were we premature in closing
No,
East Main?
no, because we had those two other projects identified in East Main. Remember, and we reached out to the other adjacent landowners for the water line. No one was interested in partnering, and that's pretty low on the city's list of capital improvements. And then there wasn't interest from the board in pursuing the other project, so no, I don't think you were, I don't think you rushed the closure on that one at all.
So understand, these property owners got their valuation lower because they can't develop.
Mhm.
And if we were to open an area at this level, then we could benefit from the increment of their increased value as they develop.
Yeah, that would be yeah, we'd have to run a cost benefit analysis to see if, the investment, I mean, the purpose of the URA is to, take properties and increase their values. So, I mean, that's all in the numbers.
Yep. So like I said at the beginning, this is step one of like $1.6 million
Yeah,
before you would get to like the actual development. And this information will, be shared with those developers because, they did come to the city being like, we want to do something, but there wasn't an answer to that problem. So the information will be, shared with them, and the city will definitely be using it for other things as part of the water modeling, information. Helps in just with other general planning, and our city engineer Luke is here. If you have questions about that part.
And if my memory serves, traditionally, we would kind of want to partner or cost share with a developer like that.
That
They're
is how you
gonna-
guys have done it in the past, and the
Yeah.
board has operated in the past. We could also look, other URAs have done it where they did like developer reimbursement, where the developer paid for the cost upfront and did an agreement with the URA, and then the URA reimbursed a certain amount as the increment came in. That might also be a thought to keep, as we look as if you guys want to pursue doing another revenue allocation area or not. But like I said, this is just the first step of a lot.
Are there any other areas within the east side of downtown, kind of, below Sunset Park to East Main, that might benefit from similar kind of infrastructure upgrade?
I would have to go back and look I think that might be more of a question for Public Works. I know there are other areas in the city, and that was part of why, water modeling was part of what was asked of Stantec, where there are gaps in both water service and sewer service. And so kind of identifying solutions for those areas that have not been able to be developed because they're lacking, because they have a similar problem. They're either between a zone or they're right at the edge of Lewis Orchards Irrigation District water service and our water service. And so there's other areas that have not been developed because of similar problems. I don't know if we would have to go look, but see, that would be, again, that would be part of determining if that's a good project for the area as a
Yeah,
as a
that's
whole.
what's going through my head is,
Because we would want to look at all those things, right? We would
Yes.
look at where else are there deficiencies, where else is there maybe blight, where else can we see redevelopment? You know, that's all part of that feasibility study.
Thanks.
Well, thank you.
What did the sheet label graveyard, what did that mean?
Oh, they were just, it's just a, it's where they got really technical, it's more of our analysis. Not.
Yeah, so in our initial presentation to the staff was
Yeah.
a lot more detailed.
Oh, okay.
You need all that weed information. It's in there.
Yeah, so
So
you
that's where
you have the
everything
weeds, if you want to look at the weeds.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
But I asked them to keep it kind of high level for the presentation to you guys today, just because we're not there yet, right?
Gotcha. All right, well, moving on, next item is follow up on bylaws, open board seat and school district.
Okay, so I have a brand new update that happened like an hour before the meeting started. So, as directed by you guys, I reached out to Lance Hansen and the school board after the last meeting and asked if anybody had been, interested. At first, replies were not quick to come. But I had spoken to Lance last week. The board did have a meeting last night and they readdressed it. And we do have a member of the school board who is interested in applying for our at-large position. So Mr. Brad Cuddy, I did send him the application this morning. He will get that filled out. And then we'll do like we normally do, and we'll form a interview group, interview him, and then send the recommendation to council. That's my update on that one. And then, Dad did look at our origination documents, bylaws, and the other information from when the URA was first founded. And Dad, correct me if I'm wrong, but I took your last email to me that if they wanted to change the makeup of the board, it would probably have to be by a new resolution approved by city council. Is that correct?
Yes. So with Katie's help, I reviewed a whole bunch of different things, and all of the origination documents say that city council appoints the members of the URA. However, and we weren't able to find any resolution or ordinance delegating that authority to the URA board. But the URA board at some point wrote into its bylaws that the board makeup is what it is in the bylaws. So I am not sure how that happened, but I think if the URA did want to change the board makeup to eliminate one of the at-large positions, there's currently 3, to add a requirement that someone from the school board be represented on the board. My thought would be do that by resolution and then take that to city council for approval. Because as far as I can tell, city council really has the authority to appoint, unless there's a resolution out there somewhere where the city council handed that authority over to the URA board. So so that's what I found, which isn't much there. I just couldn't find a link between the URA bylaws and the origination documents that say it's city council appointed.
So that's where we stand currently. So we do have a school board member who is interested in the at-large position. And like I told you guys at the last meeting, that is how Joy Rapp, who was the previous superintendent of schools, that's how she served. Is she held that at-large position for many, many years. So I don't know, it's up to you guys. I think we move forward with having Mr. Cuddy do his application, doing the interview. If you guys want to appoint him, then we send that to council to do that. If you want to revisit doing a resolution that specifically says that school board is represented, much like county and port, etc., we can move forward with getting that resolution put together, and I'll work with that on that. Or we can operate with it being the at-large position for now.
I think it makes way more sense to just proceed as at large and see how that works out.
Well, certainly it's easier.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because my only concern would be, and I mentioned this at the last meeting, if you have it be, so although board members are elected to the school board, it is a volunteer situation, so they are not being compensated for that. And my only concern would be that as that board changes in makeup, you might not have people who have the interest or the availability to serve on this board in addition to serving on that board, because that is a pretty busy board. And I would just be concerned that that would, cause problems with attendance or being able to have a quorum or any of those sorts of things.
Did the school district indicate whether they had a preference either way? They don't seem to care whether it's officially, they don't want a permanent seat versus an at-large seat. They
Lance
don't-
seemed to think that doing it with the open seat was a fine way to do it, and especially, it took them a while to
Yeah,
find someone, like I got emails from some of the board members saying, no, I do not have time to do that.
okay.
And then I had to call Lance last week and I was like, are we doing this or not?
Okay.
But Brad is interested.
And so I was told this morning that Brad was interested, and I emailed Brad this morning, and he did respond and said he would get his application filled out.
So, just a couple comments. Joe Gish kind of gave me a little update on this. And his reasoning behind it was that, the school board having representation, since they are a part of the financial picture of this thing, made a lot of sense to him. And then I gave him some history about Joy Rapp being on it for years, because I was here when Joy was here. Now, Joy is not elected, or the superintendent's not elected. So it plays different than a board member. And all those years she was on it, it never was really talked about, what position she was, kind of fulfilling. It just made sense that, she wanted to be there and she had an interest and, so she was there. But when she was retired and stepped down, then it became a point of discussion. Butch was there. Hey, that chair is actually not being held for the school district. That's actually at large. And so from that point on, they just never had a representative, but it was never really talked about how to designate the chair.
Right.
So all I know is what Joe's, his method behind his madness was, okay, everybody should be represented here of the entities. Now, school district funding is handled a little different. They're not like shorted money when it's diverted, they're made whole through the state, and I don't know exactly how it works. It's different than the city and the county work. So, so there's a difference there, but, Lance is, I don't know, he's only got a short time to go.
Right,
The
he's
new
short timer now, yep.
superintendent might feel different, so I wouldn't write it off. I don't.
So I think maybe we just revisit it once there's a new superintendent.
Yeah.
I don't have a problem doing that. Definitely reach out once they've found someone new for that position. I think we move forward with having Mr. Cuddy fill out the application and we go through that process. That'll sit him on the board for 3 years. And then we can revisit. Because I think we can still, if that's the direction the board wants to go, we can work through that process while he's holding an at-large position. And that way your board is made whole, right? And then you can still go through that process if you want to make those changes.
Sounds reasonable.
Oh, can I make one other comment about the council? That, in the past, the council has always had, been given the authority to appoint the board member, even the elected, like the county representative, that name had to be forwarded to the council and they made the appointment. So, or they approved the appointment. So, that's just a little bit of history there. So I just know from the county perspective, that's the way we've always done it.
Yeah, you guys used to actually issue a letter.
Yeah, we had to send a letter, yeah.
I found when Joe was here last time, I found the letter and I was like, oh, are they gonna send me a letter?
Yeah,
Cool.
yeah.
Letter. Yeah, you guys used to do a letter saying who it was gonna be.
yeah.
You get a letter from me?
I don't know, I didn't look
I don't
and see
read.
what the port stuff was,
Yeah. don't
but I
recall.
found like the letter
just showed up?
previously
Yeah.
for,
Yeah.
Mary
for the
left and
county
they said,
position in the
you got her committee assignment.
Okay, so that's all?
All right.
That's all I have.
Following, just for the record, following Joy Rapp's service on the board and then stepping away, we also had a future member from the school district, and it was the business manager at the time. I don't remember her name. Do you, Doug? She served for maybe 2 years,
A short period.
then fell away.
So that's the
Alright.
information I have on that.
Well, thanks for the history, and we'll just follow up on that. Coming up soon. All right, so next item on the agenda is board member comment. Anybody have any comments?
A question.
Okay,
Katie, thanks for doing this, the legislative update.
I tried
Is that directed by this board or the city or?
So that's what we received from, the, redevelopment association. I get those like weekly, I think,
Okay,
during
but why
legislative
are
session.
the only thing that really concerns us other than affecting property taxes is any adjustments to the URA code.
So I just sent you what they send me. I forward the whole
So they're
thing.
saying this is what we're paying our $4,000 or whatever it was
Basically,
for. It doesn't really affect us.
Some of it does. I mean,
Well,
I
not
don't know
very
that every
much.
single week we get information that directly affects the URA. I just send out what is sent to me.
Well, that cost has gone up quite a bit since I was here, and I just wondered if they're justifying it by giving us stuff we don't really need. Okay,
Port uses the same rock stone.
you pay them too,
I think, yeah, I believe we have one retainer.
so you're paying them and we're paying them.
Yeah,
do you get the same information?
I think it's the same one.
I think they do. I'm gonna guess they do a blanket to cover all legislative matters.
Week
That would be
5.
my guess.
I think you get the same report that we do. URA,
I think so.
yeah, same report.
Okay. I have one thing I was gonna mention, not that anybody might care, but in case you do. Thursday, Mayor Johnson speaking at the chamber luncheon, and they're talking about the downtown project. So I'm gonna go just for a minute, but in case anybody else.
Where is it?
It's at Health Canyon Grand, and you have to pay to attend, but I just thought I'd throw that out there in case anybody's interested.
It used to be a
Yes.
big fundraiser for the chamber, state of the city speech. I don't know if it is much anymore.
I think I saw something where they're gonna have people from Moscow there talking about how their project with their city works, so it might be.
Or was it full?
Was it Pullman?
I
I'm
think
not
it's
sure.
Pullman.
I can't remember.
Yeah, I don't think it's the state of the city. I think he's just
Okay.
talking about the downtown.
Oh, it is, it's not state of the city.
Yeah, I don't think it's.
Yeah, I'm not sure about
Maybe
that,
they don't
but
do that anymore then.
anyway, so thought I'd throw that out there in case it's of interest to anyone. Anybody else have anything?
Kitty.
All right, we'll move on to staff comments then.
Okay, I have a bunch, I'm sorry. Okay, so, told you about Brad Cuddy. I will be looking at transferring money to the state pool. I mentioned that during financials. I do need to schedule a special meeting. I forgot that you guys need to review the draft of the annual report before I do the public hearing in March. So I did not include that on today's agenda, and you guys will need to review that before we have that public hearing in March. So I would like to, if anyone trying to confirm a quorum, would like to schedule that for Tuesday, February 25th, same time, noon, same place, here. And if I can confirm a quorum, I will go get that posted today.
I believe I can make it. I have nothing.
It's 2 weeks from today, on Tuesday.
Probably works for me.
And that's the only agenda item, that public hearing.
Yep, well, it won't be the public hearing, it'll just be a review of the draft annual report.
I'll review of the draft.
Yeah, because then if you guys need to make any changes, I can make those changes prior to the public hearing. It will be at the March 6th meeting.
Mine fell out of my pocket.
How about you, Butch? You able to go?
Okay, we're all good, super, I will get that scheduled. So that's that. Okay, Mr. Kaufman talked about that we'll probably see bids in April. We will also probably have our audit on the March meeting. I'm waiting for confirmation from Dawn with Fresno and Gage. And that usually is done at the same time as the annual report public hearing, and we get kind of a bunch of financial information kind of all at
So
once.
you're talking March 11th for,
Yes, sorry, yes, March
yeah,
11th.
I will be out of town with the foot.
Okay, so no. Anderson for March.
Yeah.
Anyone else unable to attend the March meeting?
What's that?
Anyone else unable to attend the March meeting, our regular meeting in March? All of them are good? Just Miss No Joe. Okay, and that is all my thing.
Okay. Do you have any questions? Katie? All right. With that, we'll move on. I'll entertain a motion to adjourn the meeting.
So moved. Second?
I got a motion, a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Okay, motion passed. Did you hear
See you,
that?
Dad.
Bye, everyone.
Bye, thanks,
Bye.
Dawn.
Thank you.